The research reflection sheet?
No, the enlightenment term sheet.
Oh, okay. Thank you for helping.
You will need the research reflection sheet later today. That form.
I listened to and I thought I had them all done. My notebook works. And I just, I'm listening to
We'll talk about what you missed yesterday later. All right, I want you guys to read your answers for like a minute, familiarize yourself. Like I said, hopefully we'll have a good discussion. Hopefully you guys have formed opinions about these terms so far. I'll give you a minute to read them over, get in the mindset of enlightenment terms, of these ideas, form some opinions. We got 2 learning objectives today. The first one you guys are familiar with. We had it on Wednesday. It's that you all will be able to analyze the main ideas discussed during the Enlightenment by researching, understanding, and accurately using those terms. We've already researched and understood those terms, and hopefully today we all can accurately use them in a conversation. But we also have a second learning objective, and this one is focusing on the actual discussion. The objective is that you guys will be able to listen and respond to a classmate with relevant information. It may seem difficult, but if you have your own opinion in your head, it may be harder to listen to the opinion of someone else while also deciding what you want to say to that person, to listening to what they're saying and responding to what they're saying and not just what you're thinking. So in the discussion that we have, I want you guys to focus on talking to your classmates and not talking to me. If Sloan says something and Bobby agrees with her or disagrees with her, tell Sloan, don't tell me. Some sentence starters. Bobby.
Do we have to raise our hand?
We'll start raising our hands.
Okay.
Because I don't want, if 3 people have an opinion to say, like, I don't want everybody speaking out at once.
Yeah.
Some sentence starters that you guys should be utilizing in the conversation is, I agree with you because, Bobby, I like what you said. Here's something that I'm going to add on to it. Bobby, that was not a great opinion. Here's my opinion. It's different. Here's what I'm going to say in regards to that. Isaac, you said this about separation of powers. I actually think this. How do you feel about that? Logan, when you were talking about separation of church and state, you said this. Can you say more about that? Just talk with a classmate.
So I think.
Well, okay, hold on. I appreciate you guys ready to jump in. I love it. I love the enthusiasm. You guys are great. So start talking with a classmate. You guys have created a civilization before. You guys are familiar with these 7 terms, just like they did in the American Revolution. Tyrannical government, there's a monarchy, they hate it, they break away. All these ideas floating around in their head, John Locke, Montesquieu, Thomas Hobbes, separation of power, constitutional government. So you guys just broke away from our king, and now you're creating a government. You become Thomas Jefferson, you're the founding fathers. So which one of these 7 terms would you guys want your government to embody? Think it over for a couple seconds and then talk with your neighbor.
So it really depends where.
Let's hear it, Logan.
If I was doing separation, I would want to do separation.
What's that?
I wouldn't want to be the one to be. I wouldn't want everybody to rely on just me. I would want everyone to rely on a whole system. But if I was an individual back, for example, I would probably want liberty or individual. I want the freedom. I want to be free, but I also want to have a laws with that. You know what I'm saying?
So you said that Hey, hopefully it would want free.
I agree with that.
I mean,
I would as well.
so what would be a liberty?
No, I agree with you because
I think
because
what
being
it was
free,
is a little bit.
being free means you get to do what you want.
Someone has a complaint.
You get to do what you want.
So you said
There's obviously certain limits of what you can do, but like freedom of speech, freedom of stuff.
Free press.
Exactly.
I don't know what that means. But
You
I've
can't
heard it.
shout fire in a crowded movie theater. You're not, like, you can't do that.
You know, you have free will,
But there are some rules and regulations to your free will.
All right.
Go.
What's that?
Yes.
Yes. All right, everybody, close down conversations. I would like everybody to participate in this conversation. I have a list of your guys' names, and I'll cross you out as you talk. Feel free to talk more than once, but I do want everyone to say something. I care about everybody's opinions. Who wants to share what their most important Enlightenment idea was in their new government? Bobby.
All right. So, like, I have two.
Okay.
So, if I was the new ruler of this place, I would want to do separation of power because I feel like I wouldn't want everyone like just rely on me. I want them to be like kind of like branched out and just like rely on like other people. And then if I was like a citizen, I would want like individualism and liberty because I would want to have like free will and like be free, but also with some rules and regulations.
Terms you use of ruler and separation of power don't really go hand in hand.
Sorry.
Who agrees with Bobby about separation of powers? Kyle? You want to expound on that? Did you agree with Bobby?
Oh yeah.
Haley, I'm so sorry.
I agree with Bobby about separation of powers because we broke away from our civilization because it was so like power hungry. But if we don't separate our power and our government, then we're gonna end up destroyed.
Do governments need separation of power?
No,
Why do you say no?
because some places have like kings and they do fine.
What places?
No idea.
Does anybody want to add on to what Charlotte said? Do we think separation of powers is needed? Kenna?
I cited it, but I disagree with it though. Because there's like a lot of places where if they have a king like as their ruler, the people are unhappy or like don't think they're being treated fairly. So I think separation of powers is needed. That way, like everyone feels like they're being treated equal.
Logan, you had your hand raised.
Oh yeah, no, I also agree that like some separation of power is needed. Maybe not in the same way as the United States, but I feel like in some way you need to stop one person from making all the laws. Like they need to be regulated so that they don't go power hungry.
Sean?
I actually think that separation of powers is the right way to go, but
Strong words.
it's
Those
not like
are fighting words.
it's not.
You just called
Like-
McKenna wrong.
McKenna, you're wrong. So if there is a king, people are still gonna be upset, but like if people chose a king, then some people are also happy and some people are always gonna be upset with who's in power.
How do you explain all of the kingdoms in like Europe or Northern Africa that lasted for so long with happy civilizations?
They were good rulers.
So is all of it, does separation of powers prevent against bad rulers?
No.
Kenna, you were nodding your head. Logan?
I think separation of powers can help prevent bad rulers. Because if you got one guy who sucks, then then everyone else can kind of keep him in check and make sure he does things that are better than what he would be doing otherwise.
What if this bad ruler is bad at checking other people?
That is a good point.
Anybody want to toy with that idea? Bobby?
Well, back in the day, I'd probably just burn them on some stakes.
Okay. Let's move on from separation of powers and talk about separation of church and state. Do you guys think separation of church and state should be required? Maddie?
maybe like now it's like a good thing to have separation of church and state because there's so many different types of churches. But like maybe back in the day when there was like the whole like guidelines of like the religion was part of civilization.
What do you mean by so many different churches?
There's like Muslims and Christians, and then there's different types of Catholics and Christians.
Logan?
Yeah, I also feel like separation of church and state is important because then if there's one specific type of religion that's ruling the country or town or whatever, then it can kind of prevent freedom of religion. So, and so then people can't do what they believe in.
So I want to get back to what Maddie said about, like, does the amount of religions in the world impact your guys' opinion on separation of church and state? If, like, when we look at Europe and we have Christianity as the main religion in this whole region, they didn't have much separation of church and state. Like, kings were ordained by the priest and that kind of nature. So does the number of religions impact that idea for you guys? Bobby, you raise your hand.
I think it does, because like, let's say like in like the United States, like let's say like everybody was like Christian or something like that, or religion. I feel like everybody kind of want the ruler to be like Christian, but like if like there's like so many different religions in the United States that like I don't really think people care what religion they are now, and it just makes them if they're good at doing their job.
Mason, you hear Bobby saying that he thinks that people with the same religion would want that religion in government. Do you agree or disagree?
I think I would agree with that, but I feel like it's not really fair to other people that are different religions. I feel like they need to have some sort of representation. It's better to just keep religion out of it as a whole, just so it's easier.
Shelby?
I also agree with the thing about like keeping separate, like the separation of church and state. Sure, so as you mentioned, like Europe is mostly Christianity, while some places like the United States are a melting pot of different religions. So while in some places where it's mostly one religion, like then like if that entire like kingdom or country is one religion, then it could be okay. But again, like the places where it's more of a melting pot, then it's better to keep church and state separate.
So is there any instance where it would be like good? Like you guys said, Bobby said that Christians might want Christianity in their government if the majority of the population is Christian, but is there an instance where that wouldn't be a good thing for the government or for the people? Do you think that there would ever be an instance where, like, even if the majority of the population is Christian, that the government still shouldn't embody Christian ideals? Do you think that would be bad? Or any scenario where that would be bad? Logan?
I mean, I feel like it could do what Europe did when we're doing, because, you know, when the rulers became, like when church and the rulers became like one thing, then they started like twisting what the religion meant to like whatever their agenda was. So.
Let's move on to, do you guys want to do natural?
Class average, 94.6.
Oh. Whenever I give you guys the math quiz, you always do well.
Wow, Ms. Rogers.
You got the 100.
Okay. You have
Yeah.
200. Let's see. I got Kaya, Kaylee, Bobby, Aubrey, Logan, McKenna, Charlotte, Mason, Owen, and Taylor. The lowest score I had was a 12, guys. Like, pretty good.
Who
Lots
got
of
12?
14s, lots of 14 and a half. Who got the 12? Alright, sorry, Mr.
All right, I want to transition into talking about natural rights. Sophie's got an opinion about how natural rights apply to us and about if people actually have natural rights. Let's hear it, Sophie.
I think it's good that we have
Sophie's taking the opinion that we do have natural rights. Does everybody agree or disagree with that?
I agree.
Do you want to say more about that, Bobby?
Not really, I disagree.
You disagree with me?
No, I just agree.
Oh, you just agree?
Yeah.
All right. Evelyn?
I would agree because, everyone should have like rights to say things too, because they're all living people. They
Mhm.
all have opinions and different feelings, so they should all help and impact other things in their society.
I agree with Evelyn. I think people should have natural rights, but I don't think that necessarily means people do. I think there's definitely certain places on the earth that people might not have those rights to life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness or property in that case. What are things that you guys consider natural rights? What are things that you're born with just because you're human?
Free will.
Free will.
Freedom of speech.
Andre?
I was gonna say that one.
Freedom of religion.
Evelyn?
Freedom of being able to like go up in the world.
Freedom of getting to wear whatever clothes I want.
So we're back into the muddle of civil liberties and natural rights. Freedom of religion and like what you get to wear, like that's U.S., but not just because you're human.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah. So that is not a natural right.
Natural rights are like everyone?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Like there are places in other parts of the world where people may not have
Yeah,
those
that's what I
natural
was
rights.
thinking, but
Yeah.
Sorry, I disagree with myself.
Right. Final point I want to hit is social contract. Aubrey, where are some social contracts in your life? How's that a social contract? Okay. What kind of freedoms are you giving up? Charlotte?
I think the airport, when like you go through security and stuff, just to keep yourself safe and other people.
Isaac?
Like agreeing to stuff on video games or something, or a phone,
Like what?
terms of service.
What are you giving up?
Your time?
Yeah, your information.
Thanks, Logan.
What? Buying a house because you're putting like some money into it to get some type of protection in return to like live in a stable home.
What are you giving up there?
You're giving up your time from working and your money from like earning it.
I disagree with Andre.
Okay.
Because some people they don't pay their bills. So like, how are you gonna give up your money if you don't pay your bills?
They also don't have houses.
I disagree
Yeah,
with
they
Bobby.
get no, but like,
I disagree with Bobby because so I disagree with Bobby
I also
because
disagree
if
with
they don't
Bobby.
pay the bills,
I also
they will
disagree
get
with Bobby.
kicked out of the house.
I also disagree with Bobby.
I also disagree with Bobby because if they don't pay the bills, they probably can't buy a house.
Or
Bella, what do you have to say about this whole conversation? Do you agree with what Bobby and Isaac and Andre are saying? That's, well, but a social contract, like, does it apply, does it trickle down to the people that are impacted by the social contract? How so? Does that work in other scenarios as well? Like, Bobby's saying, like, people may be paying for a social contract and like, oh, their kids are reaping the benefits of it and their kids aren't giving up anything. So like, for us as American citizens, like maybe our congressmen are giving up funds for certain things and allocating it elsewhere. They're participating in the social contract. Does that trickle down to impact us?
Yeah.
Do we partake in the social contract in that case? Why not?
I'm confused by your question.
All right. Sloan?
I feel like it's good, but like I feel like we shouldn't have to pay money to like receive running water. I feel like that should just be something granted to us.
from the social, what do you agree with?
What's well said. I don't think we should have to pay for, yeah, basic necessities. Well, yeah, to an extent. No, you should have to pay.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Thank
Yeah, I was.
No, he was.
Does anybody have anything else to add about social contracts? All right, thank you all for the discussion. I loved your guys' insight. You're all very opinionated, and I appreciate you responding to one another. So now I need you guys to take out that research sheet that you did yesterday.